Michael Jackson was in the middle of Billie Jean at Bucharest National Stadium when every single light in the venue suddenly went dark. Complete blackness. The music stopped. The microphone went dead. 80,000 people fell silent in confusion and fear. Technical crews panicked. Security activated emergency protocols. This was every performer's nightmare. But Michael Jackson didn't run off stage. He didn't panic. He didn't wait for the power to return. Instead, he did something that had never been done before in concert history. Something so beautiful, so spontaneous, so magical that 80,000 people would talk about it for the rest of their lives. And what happened in those 7 minutes of darkness would inspire a revolution in how concerts are performed, creating a moment that proved the most powerful electricity isn't the kind that comes from generators. Let me take you back to October 1st, 1992, to understand how a catastrophic technical failure became the most legendary moment in Michael Jackson's career. It was the final night of Michael Jackson's Dangerous World Tour in Bucharest, Romania. This wasn't just another concert. This was historic. Romania had only been free from communist dictatorship for 3 years, and this was the first major Western concert in the country's history. The show was being broadcast live across Europe to an estimated 250 million viewers. Everything had to be perfect. The pressure was immense. Michael's technical crew had spent 3 days setting up one of the most complex stage productions ever attempted. Lighting rigs with over 1,000 individual fixtures. A sound system powerful enough to fill a stadium that seated 80,000 people. Video screens. Pyrotechnics. Special effects. It was a technological marvel. The Romanian government had assured Michael's team that the power grid could handle the load. They had installed backup generators. They had tested everything multiple times. The show had been flawless for the first 90 minutes. Michael had performed Jam, Wanna Be Starting Something, Human Nature, Smooth Criminal, and was now deep into Billie Jean, the song that had made him a global superstar, the moment every fan had been waiting for. At 9:47 p.m., Michael was executing the moonwalk. The crowd was going absolutely wild. The energy was electric. The broadcast cameras were capturing every moment for millions of viewers across Europe. And then, without warning, everything went black. Not a gradual dimming. Not a single light failing. Everything. Every light. Every speaker. Every screen. Every piece of equipment drawing power. Dead. Instantly. The stadium plunged into absolute darkness. The kind of darkness that only happens when you're in a massive enclosed space with no natural light, and every artificial source fails simultaneously. For 3 seconds, there was silence. Confused, disoriented silence. Then the screaming started. 80,000 people in complete darkness, not understanding what was happening, some panicking, some thinking it was part of the show, some genuinely afraid. Backstage, Michael's technical director, John Peterson, was already on the radio. We've lost main power. Generators aren't kicking in. I repeat, we have total power failure. Evacuate the stage. Get Michael out there now. Michael's security team, led by Bill Bray, immediately began moving toward the stage to extract Michael and get him to a secure location. This was protocol. In a blackout situation with 80,000 people, the artist's safety was paramount. But Michael Jackson had other plans. Standing alone on the dark stage, Michael could hear the confusion in the crowd, the fear, the uncertainty. He could feel the moment starting to spiral into chaos. Michael made a decision in that instant that would define his legacy more than any choreographed performance ever could. He took a deep breath and began to sing. Without a microphone, without amplification, just his voice projecting into the darkness. Billie Jean is not my lover. His voice, raw and unplugged, cut through the confusion. A few people near the front of the stage heard it and fell silent, straining to listen. Michael sang louder. She's just a girl who claims that I am the one. More people heard it. The screaming began to quiet as words spread through the crowd. He's still singing. Listen, he's still performing. By the time Michael reached, "But the kid is not my son," thousands of people had fallen silent, listening to Michael Jackson perform Billie Jean completely acoustic in pitch darkness. And then something miraculous began to happen. In the darkness, people started reaching into their pockets, their bags. They pulled out lighters, matches, and the few who had them, flashlights. One light appeared in section 200, then another in section 150, then 5 lights in section 100, then 20, then hundreds, then thousands. Within 90 seconds, 80,000 tiny flames and beams of light filled the stadium, creating a galaxy of illumination that no lighting designer could have ever planned. Michael, standing on the stage, could now see the audience by the light of their own creation. Thousands of small flames, flickering, swaying, held high. The sight took his breath away. He stopped singing for a moment, overwhelmed by the beauty of what was happening. In the darkness, someone near the front started singing the next line. She says, "I am the one, but the kid is not my son." Then someone else joined. Then a section. Then half the stadium. Then everyone. 80,000 people in complete darkness, singing Billie Jean together, their voices becoming the music, their lighters and flashlights becoming the light show. Michael stood on stage, tears streaming down his face, listening to 80,000 people perform his song back to him. Michael's band members, sitting backstage in darkness with their dead instruments, could hear what was happening. They began to join in, clapping out the rhythm, creating percussion with their hands, their feet, whatever they could use. The backup dancers emerged from the wings and continued their choreography in darkness, guided only by the tiny lights held up by the crowd. What was supposed to be a catastrophic technical failure had transformed into the most intimate, most human, most magical moment any of them had ever experienced. For 7 minutes, there was no electricity except the electricity between 80,000 human beings connected through music. No amplification except the amplification of thousands of voices joining together. No light show except the light show of hope and joy held in 80,000 hands. When the power finally came back on, when the lights suddenly blazed and the speakers crackled back to life, there was a moment of disorientation. The magic spell broke. The stadium lights seemed harsh and artificial compared to the organic beauty of the lighter flames. Michael grabbed his microphone, now working again, and addressed the crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen," his voice was shaking with emotion, "I've performed in stadiums all over the world. I've had the best lighting designers, the best sound systems, the best technology that money can buy. But what just happened here in the darkness, without any of that technology, that was the most beautiful performance I've ever been part of." The stadium erupted in applause that lasted nearly 5 minutes. "You gave me light when I had none," Michael continued. "You gave me music when I had no speakers. You gave me a show when I had no stage lights. You reminded me that none of this," he gestured to the now functioning equipment around him, "none of this matters compared to what we create together." Michael paused, looking out at the 80,000 faces now visible in the bright stage lights. "From now on, in every show I do, I'm going to ask for this moment. I'm going to turn off the lights on purpose. Because what we just created in that darkness was more real, more powerful, more beautiful than any technology could ever be." And Michael kept that promise. From October 1st, 1992, until the end of his performing career, Michael Jackson incorporated a darkness moment into every concert. He would stop mid-song, turn off all the lights, and ask the audience to light up the stadium with whatever they had. It became one of the most anticipated moments of any Michael Jackson concert. Fans would bring candles, lighters, flashlights, preparing for the moment when Michael would give them the power to create the show. But here's the part of the story that most people don't know. The power failure in Bucharest wasn't an accident. Or rather, it wasn't a simple technical malfunction. 3 weeks after the concert, Romanian electrical engineer Anton Popescu came forward with a confession. He had been part of the team managing the power supply for the concert. He revealed that the Romanian power grid in 1992 was old, unstable, struggling to serve a country rebuilding after dictatorship. When Michael's tour requested the massive amount of power needed for the show, Anton and his team knew the grid couldn't handle it, but they couldn't refuse. This concert was a symbol of Romania's new freedom, its entry into the Western world. Saying no wasn't an option, so they did their best. They diverted power from other parts of Bucharest. They brought in generators. They hoped it would be enough. But at 9:47 p.m., during the power-intensive sequence of Billie Jean, with all the lighting effects and video screens running simultaneously, the system finally overloaded. The main transformer blew. The backup generators failed to kick in because of a wiring error. Anton had spent 3 weeks consumed with guilt, thinking he had destroyed Michael Jackson's historic concert, that he had failed his country on the world stage. But when he finally confessed to the media what had happened, something unexpected occurred. He became a hero, because his failure had created the most beautiful moment in concert history. Michael Jackson personally called Anton Popescu and thanked him. "You gave me the greatest gift any technician has ever given a performer," Michael told him. "You took away all my tools and forced me to find out what really matters. You showed me that the connection between artist and audience doesn't need electricity. It just needs truth." Michael invited Anton to the next concert in Bucharest 3 years later in 1995. During the show, Michael introduced Anton to the crowd and told the story of what had happened. Then Michael recreated the darkness moment, this time intentionally, with Anton controlling the power switch. "Anton, when I give you the signal," Michael said, "you're going to create magic one more time." 80,000 people lit up the stadium in darkness once again, this time knowing they were part of history repeating itself, part of a moment that had changed how concerts were performed forever. The broadcast footage of the original 1992 blackout became one of the most watched concert videos in history, not because of its production value, but because of its raw humanity. You can see the moment when confusion turns to beauty. You can see 80,000 individual lights appearing like stars being born. You can hear 80,000 voices becoming one voice. Music schools and concert production programs now study that moment. It's taught as a lesson in authenticity, in the power of human connection, in what happens when technology fails and humanity steps in. Modern concerts now regularly feature crowd lighting moments, where artists turn off stage lights and let the audience create the illumination with their phone flashlights. Artists like Coldplay, Taylor Swift, Beyoncé, they all incorporate this technique. But it started in Bucharest, in darkness, with Michael Jackson trusting his audience to become his light. Dr. Sarah Martinez, a musicologist at Berkeley, wrote her dissertation on the Bucharest blackout. What Michael Jackson did in those 7 minutes redefined the relationship between performer and audience, Dr. Martinez explains. Before that moment, concerts were about the artist delivering an experience to passive consumers. After Bucharest, concerts became about co-creation. The audience wasn't just watching the show. They were creating it. Karen Fay, Michael's longtime makeup artist, said that Michael was different after Bucharest. He talked about that blackout constantly. Karen remembered. He said it was the moment he finally understood his purpose. He wasn't meant to impress people with technology and spectacle. He was meant to connect with people in the most basic, human way possible. Everything else was just decoration. When Michael Jackson died in 2009, spontaneous memorials sprang up around the world. And at almost every memorial, as people gathered to sing Michael's songs and remember his legacy, someone would call out, "Lights down," and everyone would turn off their phone lights, hold up their lighters, their candles, and sing together in the intentional darkness, recreating the moment that Michael had accidentally discovered in Bucharest. Today, there's a permanent installation at Bucharest National Stadium. It's a simple display, a single lighter encased in glass, with a plaque that reads, October 1st, 1992. When the power failed, the people became the light. When technology died, humanity lived. This is where Michael Jackson learned that the brightest show is the one created together in darkness. Every major artist who performs at that stadium is told the story. Many of them stand on the spot where Michael stood, trying to imagine what it must have felt like to hear 80,000 voices singing your song back to you in complete darkness. The story of the Bucharest blackout teaches us something profound about control, about perfection, about what happens when our carefully planned productions fail and we're forced to rely on the raw connection between human beings. Michael Jackson had planned every second of that concert, every light cue, every camera angle, every musical note. It was technological perfection, and then all of that disappeared in an instant. Most performers would have considered that a disaster, a career-ending catastrophe, a moment to forget and never speak of again. But Michael saw something different. He saw an opportunity to discover what exists beneath the production. He saw a chance to find out what happens when you strip away all the technology and all the spectacle, and all you have left is a voice and 80,000 people in darkness. And what he found was magic, real magic. The kind that can't be programmed or rehearsed or produced. The kind that only exists in the spontaneous moment when human beings choose to create light together in the darkness. The power failure lasted 7 minutes. But the impact of those 7 minutes has lasted 32 years and will last forever. Because Michael Jackson taught us that the most powerful concerts aren't the ones with the most impressive technology. They're the ones where technology fails and humanity succeeds. Where the lights go out and the people become a light. Where the speakers die and the voices become the music. Where the show stops and the connection begins. If this incredible true story moved you, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Share this video with someone who needs to be reminded that the most beautiful moments often happen when our plans fail and we're forced to rely on human connection. Have you ever experienced a moment where a failure turned into something magical? Let us know in the comments. And remember, when the lights go out, don't curse the darkness. Create your own light and share it with everyone around you. That's when the Real Show begins.